Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We're covering Sistas on BET. This is season 9, episode 22, and it is the season finale. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video, and you can also subscribe if you are new, and you can leave your comments below. Now let's get into this week's episode. Okay, y'all, so of course this is the season finale. Season 10 is going to start early January. I forgot the date of it, but anyways, there's some things that happen, and I think we should talk about it for a little bit. It starts off with Andy and her mom the next day. Andy talks about her night, how it was very enlightening to her. She says, you know, she's kind of learning to live life with no regrets. Andy's asking about her, and of course she's not really saying anything as of yet, but then she finally confesses that she has stage 2 breast cancer. She said they still caught it early and she'll be fine. Andy's mom will be leaving soon, and Andy's like, well, maybe I can just drop things and just come be with you. And she's like, no, I'll be okay. Let's just pray. And as the mom is praying, then Andy starts breaking down crying because she's worried. Of course. At Sabrina's apartment, she comes out of her room after her crazy night, and Rich is on the couch. We found out that Rich took Sabrina home last night, and she was wondering, did they sleep together? And he said no, everything was fine, we good. Like that. Rich tells Sabrina that he misses her. And, Rich said how he even ended up taking her home is that Sabrina said out of her own mouth, I miss you, and take me home, please. That's what happened. But Rich says, you know, look, I'm going to fall back. I'm not going to be doing all of those crazy things again, going to different restaurants and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to respect your boundaries, and maybe at some point we can be friends. He talks about that he's been invited to the cookout that's happening at Zach and Fatima's, and he's about to leave, and then Sabrina ends up hugging him. Danny, our girl. So, the officer spent the night. And guess what? They went on and had sex. Look, it's later asked, I think, by Fatima or someone, like, did he take advantage of you? She said, look, I was drunk, but I knew what I wanted. I don't think that I was taking advantage of, blah, 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 blah. They're talking, and then Tony all of a sudden shows up. Now, I could have sworn Tony had to give back his key. So I don't know how he got in. Did Danny even lock the house? I don't know. Anyways, he shows up, already assumes that they had sex. Him and the officer started fighting. That officer got a lot of mouth. I'll tell you that, but like, dude, even in your off, I know you're off duty right now, but it's just like, I thought you would have a little bit more restraint or critical thinking skills as far as how to even handle this type of situation, because you were pressing on Danny quite hard, and you knew that she had a boyfriend. And I don't even think that she said that she was broken up, but you were so hell-bent on making sure that you would get this with Danny. I don't know. They fight. Finally, Danny kind of breaks it up and tells the officer to leave. Danny wants to explain to Tony, but he said no. He won't listen, and then he walks out. So, at the Wilson's home, Zach and Fatima's, Mr. Keys is on the phone, and he's talking with someone, and he announces that Zach is his real son. And whomever they're talking to is like, when are you going to do it? Because I think time is now. And he said, no, let me handle it. now is not the time to actually do this. I said, Lord. So this whole time, Mr. Keys is the son, but I just feel like that there's a scam going on. While Mr. Keys is talking, Fatima's on the balcony and she hears it. Of course, she goes back inside before he can actually see her. Something's up with this. I think that there's been a scam this whole time. I thought it was with the money situation, but actually that was Gary, but something's wrong here. Do y'all believe that that's his real dad, or is he lying? Because why not now? Because you ended up lying to him all this time, talking about you knew Gladys and the dad and all that. I don't know. Karen and Aaron, they're at the apartment. They got things quite packed up. Some things will not be arriving until later. Karen's mom shows up and she announces that she got transferred 40 miles away from Seattle. So she'll be moving. And of course, that's a built-in babysitter. But she said, look, mama got a life too. I can help sometimes. So they'll all be traveling there. Mom is staying behind to make sure that things are packed up because some things will be moved by roadway and all that good stuff. So Karen stands around for a couple seconds just to look at it because Aaron's like, are you going to miss it? She was like, no, it's time for me to go. A lot of stuff happened in that place that she got. So, nah. So everyone starts arriving to the cookout. Maurice and Dylan is there. Dylan was like, I finally been invited to the cookout. And Maurice said, no, you've been invited to this cookout. And I need you to stay quiet and all of that. Pam meets with them and then they trade some shade to one another. In the backyard, Mr. Keys meets Fatima. And Fatima starts bringing up Miss Gladys and all of that. And Zach's trying to figure out, what is she doing? So after Mr. Keys gets out of their presence, he asks her, what's up? She says that I don't trust him. And Zach was like, look, I don't want any drama today. Let's just be okay for today. And she agrees. Sabrina calls Danny. I think Danny's like almost at Zach and Fatima's. And she tells Danny that I think I want Rich back. And Sabrina starts going on and on like, look, I kind of thought about it. Look, he did sleep with Penelope. She calls it cheating, but y'all did break up at that point, but whatever. Anyway, she's like, well, I'm just debating on if I should because he cheated with Penelope. And the image in my mind is still there, da-da-da-da-da. And Danny was like, I can't deal with this because she's has a lot of guilt for what she did towards Tony. Danny arrives and ends up talking with Fatima. Danny doesn't really want to stay. She's only going to be for a few minutes. And Fatima's like, what's up? So she ends up telling her what she did. She said, look, I think it could be fixable. And Danny was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. Hopefully Danny gets back into therapy and finds out why she's consistently cheating. She cheated on Cowboy, even though y'all want Cowboy to come back. But Danny decides to stay based on Fatima. Sabrina, who's in the car driving to the cookout, Paige calls and says, hey, I left my keys in the vault. And Sabrina said, I'm on my way. As soon as she get off the phone, bam, she gets hit by a car. Like, it looks really bad. Later on, Andy and her mom come to the cookout. And obviously, her and Mr. Keys are getting reacquainted. But they're trying to play it off like they don't know each other. But you can definitely see that they do know each other. And Andy and Fatima's like, what's going on here? Fatima's like, look, I don't trust this dude. I don't know what's going on here, blah, 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 blah. And Andy said, well, that's enough for me to not trust him. Her and the mom end up talking. just saying, what is up with y'all? And she's like, nothing. Then Andy's mom and Mr. Keys, they do talk and said, hey, you know, from Andy's mom's point of view, you can't mention what happened last night because I told my daughter that I was in a Bible study. And he said, no problem. Rich gets to the cookout and updates Zach on what's going on with Sabrina. Zach thought that they were kind of back together. He's like, no, I'm going to respect her boundaries, and maybe I'll just talk to her here. And Zach was said, no, you need to just let it all sink in and all of that, and let her come to you at a later time. Danny runs into Rich, and he says, is it okay to come by your place to pick up Tony's gym bag? And then, of course, she figures out that Rich actually knows about what Danny did. And he said, you know, that's what he came back for. It was kind of an awkward situation, but at least at the moment, there's not all this disrespect, because I think like season, was it 8 or 7? Those men kept calling these women itches. I said, what? I know I think it wanted to represent a lot of how men will end up talking, but I just found it very disrespectful. And it's hard because this is a woman show and you giving like, this is Bruh's. You know, Bruh is on BET Plus. So then everyone comes outside because they're about to send off Karen and Aaron and baby Faith. And they're trying to figure out where is Sabrina at because she hasn't come. Next thing you know, Andy's car alarm is going off and she doesn't know what's going on. And she's going to go to the car to check it out. Next thing you know, there's an explosion. So we don't know what happened. Did Andy get blowed up? Who got blowed up? But it's not looking good at all, y'all. So that was the cliffhangers. I mean, we got Sabrina and then we also got Andy. So what are your predictions for season 10? We got a couple weeks off. I don't know what's going to happen. You think Danny and Tony will make it? Hopefully Danny gets back into therapy. Do you have any guesses? Do you think that this dude is really Zach's son? Father, Mr. Keys? And why are they trying to keep stuff a secret? Even in regards to Andy and the mom and Mr. Keys? I don't know. I guess just check back in a couple weeks after the Christmas and New Year's break and we'll go from there. Anyways, I appreciate you for coming. Like, comment, subscribe. Until the next one. Peace.